everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is Jaylee's Corner. I am, of course, Jaylee, and this is my review for Snowfall, Season 1, Episode 7, entitled Cracking. You know, this episode is finally getting into what it's supposed to be about. But first things first, if you have not done so already, well, first of all, let me cut off my air conditioner because I be forgetting that I be having it on. And, you know, it makes noises and stuff. So, I have a whole little remote control. But, yeah. I do that because, you know, it's summertime here in Michigan. Anywho, if you have not done so already, please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It does not cost you anything. It just lets you know when I have new content and new reviews up on my channel. So that's all that it does. You can also like my videos. You can also share my videos. And you can also put a comment in the comment section that is below. You just scroll all the way down and that's the comment section. So please subscribe. So first things, no, we already did first things first. It's been a long day. So season 1, episode 7, Cracking. It starts off and we see Franklin coming home. We know in the last episode that my camera just looks crooked. It's so weird and I'm so anal about it to where it's messing with my mind. So we see Franklin coming home. The last episode from episode 6, we know the ending was he was trying to go to the Mexicans to sell his product or to just share his product. That ain't go so well. And they busted out the window, pulling him out the car. So, you know, in this episode, he's going home and, you know, he was in his mom's car. And so he walk in like, you know, hey, Ma. So mama, you know what I'm saying, she up there, she dancing and having a little good time at home by herself. And, you know, he like, yeah, some kids threw a baseball through the window and broke the window. And she's like, oh, really? And he like, yeah, but you know, it's okay. I went and got it fixed. That's why I'm so late. I had to go pay $50 to have the window replaced. And she's like, oh, you know, why didn't you call me, Franklin? Like, well, I don't want to worry you and interrupt your card game or whatever. So, you know, from that conversation, he goes to sit down. He makes a phone call. And who does he call? He calls Kevin. Because if you remember, Kevin has the cousin in Oakland who he's like, you know, my cousin in Oakland can buy the stuff from you. The Mexican situation did not work out. So now, you know, Franklin's trying to go to the next best thing, which would be the people in Oakland. So, you know, that's the opening scene of it. Now, of course, as I do every week, I do it in sections because, as I always say, I feel like Franklin's story is the stronger story of the three. I'm going to be moving the camera around just because I'm weird and I don't know what's going on here. It's just kind of messing with me. But I'm going to do it in parts. You know, I'll do Teddy's situation, you know, telling Teddy and Alejandro, Lucia and Gustavo and Pedro, and then lastly, my man's Franklin. So, you know, we see Lucia and she's counting the money, and she's with the Mexicans, and they look like they're, you know, starting or doing their drug deal. And the leader of the Mexican people is Lord Jesus, I am not trying to sound racist, but I don't know that man's name. The leader of them, people who, you know, are Mexican and drug dealers, is like, you know, you're gonna always count the money. You know, if we don't start trusting each other, you know, these exchanges are gonna take forever. And she's like, you know, well, are you in a hurry? Meaning, I don't know you yet, bruh, so I can't just, you know, go ahead and not count the money. I have to really count it like piece by piece. Pause. Okay, I sort of kind of feel better with this whole stupid camera angle thing. So yeah, she's counting the money, and they're like, you know, we have to start trusting each other. But she still counts it out because, again, this is their first, you know, deal together. So she should count the money, just like they should weigh the drugs. You know, you just never know in these situations. So the next scene is, you know, Gustavo and Lucia is back at the house, and Gustavo, you know, empties the bag of money. And, you know, they're excited because they finally finished selling the first shipment of cocaine that they got from Javi. What did you get it from Javi? No, that they got from Teddy. They got that from Teddy and Alejandro. Duh. And so, you know, she's like, you know, well, don't get used to it. You know, half of that money is going to the next shipment. So, you know, just don't get all happy or lucky or whatever. He does take like a stack of the money. He says this is for his friend. I believe he's saying it's the cut for the guy who introduced them to the Mexicans. And he was about to leave, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna leave right now?" And he was like, "Well, yeah." And she stopped him, and Lucia just started kissing all over Gustavo. And Gustavo kind of pauses her for a minute, like, "Wait, hold up." And then he looks at her, and then she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, I think she said, "Que pasa?" That mean what up? She said something in the language. I don't know. But he like, I'm fine. So then they get back to kissing. So they all over the table. They taking their clothes off. They humping and pumping and loving on each other and stuff. And at that point, when he has her on the table and their clothes are coming off, she pauses. And he looks at her like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then they start to doing things. And the clothes come off. Now, as they are, breathing heavy and kissing and patting and everything, you see Pedro, the cousin, is coming into the house. So Pedro walks in, quietly, he's not making a whole bunch of noise. But as he come in, because it's so quiet in there, he hear, kissing and hugging and panting like somebody trying to do some things. And he kind of looks, and he looking, and you see Miss Lucia and Gustavo all on a table naked. And Gustavo is eating her vagina, going downtown, as people may say, all up in the chocha, you know what I'm saying? Doing what he has to do to the chocha, and she's enjoying it. And Pedro's just looking, and he looks pissed, confused, but more pissed, because he like, "You fucking this man," you know what I'm saying? Is that why you wanted him around, basically? So he sees them, clearly sees them. They're having a sexual encounter, and then he walks out. So the next thing we see is Lucia and Pedro are not the house, and they have the women there, the women in their bras and panties, who's cutting up cocaine and stuff like that. We're cutting up coke, and Lucia's like, "Yeah, Pedro, yeah, Gustavo helped us finish selling the first shipment, what I'm saying, he came through." And he's like, "Oh, so you made a deal behind my back?" And she's like, "Well, no, he was able to help. We used one of his friends, and, it helped us." So then he was like, "Well, where's my cut? Or does he get some of that too?" Now, see, what she didn't know was, when he said, does he get that too? It meant because he already had you. You know what I'm saying? But she don't know that Pedro saw her and Gustavo getting down and dirty. So, she goes into the safe and she pulls out some money. She gives it to Pedro, which is his cut. And she's like, "I made Gustavo a partner." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Oh, you're fine with that?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can pay him out of your half." And she's like, "That's fucked up." And he like, "No, what's fucked up is you gave this man a third of our business. You gave away our business without even talking to me. And, that's what's fucked up." And she's like, "We need him. He got the connect, and he was able to help us sell this. So, he's a partner." And he's like, are you fucking him?" She's like, "What? No, I'm not fucking him." Well, what he realized was, not only is you fucking that man, you lying about fucking that man because he's seen you. Now, I don't know if she's gonna play the whole thing of "I'm not fucking him because he was eating my coochie." You know what I'm saying? Because everybody have different definitions of what sex is. But if someone says that you fucking him and a guy only ate your coochie, I mean, technically you can say no. I mean, all Pedro saw was Gustavo eating her chocha. So maybe she gonna say, you know what I'm saying, he was eating my chocha, but we not a couple like that. I don't know. But, you know what I'm saying, y'all did something. I'm pretty sure Gustavo didn't just eat you out. Ain't nothing else happened. I don't make the news, I just report it. So, but she, of course, tells him no. So my thing is, Pedro is now really not going to trust you because he feel like you lied to him. Because he clearly saw you having a sexual situation with that man, and you just lied to him and said that you were not having, that you wasn't fucking him. So, it's that whole scene. Thought I had to sneeze. So the next thing that we have with that storyline is that Pedro was having a conversation with his father. And Pedro just looks sad. He looks like something's wrong. His dad was talking about something. I don't know if he was he was talking about something. He said, yeah, eventually they're going to have to make new maps. I kind of wasn't listening too much because, again, I think their storyline is a little bit boring. I can say that I guess it's getting a little bit interesting since, Lucia is now sleeping with Gustavo and Pedro knows and all this other stuff. But in him talking to his father like, son, what's wrong? Because he can see clearly something's wrong with his son. And he's like, oh, nothing. And he was like, well, the other night at the party, I just want to apologize, talking crazy. I can get, whatever. And he kind of just walks off. And I don't know if Pedro feels good that his father is basically apologizing for how he talked to him. Because then Pedro says, Papa, I have to tell you something. And that's the whole end of their scenes. So we shall see what happens next time. Is he going to tell him that, Lucia planned this whole let's rob them, and we'll plan it on somebody, is he gonna snitch? Is he gonna be a snitch out in these streets? My thing is, I don't trust a snitch, because if you work with somebody and y'all got away with it, and just because she fucking somebody you pissed off and you tell on her, you a rat. I don't even want to be around you. I don't trust you. I don't want to be near you. You ain't shit in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Did anybody ever tell you that you ain't shit? This is my thing. You ain't shit is what I would say to somebody like that. But we shall see what happens with that story next. Teddy and Alejandro. Their story was really, small this episode. Teddy and Alejandro are talking about the women that Alejandro killed. And Teddy is just like, I've been asking you, why didn't you tell me? And Alejandro is like, look, I didn't know you. I didn't know if I can trust you. I didn't know what to do. He OD'd. The girls were yelling and screaming. We had all this cocaine around. I just killed him. Bottom line. He's like, I didn't trust you. And they do find out that the girl who's looking for the one missing girl, is like living at her house. I'm thinking it's her sister, because at one point they were saying they look alike. So I'm like, maybe she's a sister and she's looking for her sister, because why else would you be at this girl's house posting missing posters? As they're talking to, the phone keeps ringing, and Alejandro's like, why are you not answering goddamn on phone? He like, hey, do you want to get the phone? He's like, no, it's okay. And as it's ringing, it goes to voicemail, and we hear that it's his baby mama calling, and he kind of cuts the voicemail part off. So I don't know if he did it to not listen to the message or what, but if you remember, she told him in the last episode, I'm giving you one more chance, don't fuck it up. And now that he has to deal with the fact that Alejandro killed 3 women, he might not be able to walk away so easily, and he's now all caught up in this case. So Teddy is asking, like, where did you bury the bodies? And Alejandro's like, I don't know, in the desert. He's like, you don't know exactly where you buried 3 bodies? And he's like, no, I drove up highway, I think it's like maybe Highway 54. He like, and I buried them there. I just carried their bodies as far as I can go, until my arms gave out, and I buried them, but it's in the desert. And I'm like, how you bury people? First of all, if I was to bury a dead body, I would never want to have to go through all of that, you know what I'm saying? But if I had to, I want to know exactly where those dead bodies are, because I want to be sure it's not somewhere somebody gonna find them. You can't just drive down the freeway and put dead bodies anywhere. Because like here in Michigan, here in Detroit, you understand, Warren. But I can't drive down 94 as far as I can go and then just say, fuck it, I'm gonna put these 3 bodies on the side of the street. You want to know why? Because other people might come down that goddamn street and find them 3 bodies. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, thank you. I need to put them bodies where I know no one's going to find them. I mean, take them to, throw them in the river. You know what I'm saying? Like, go to Belle Isle, drive over the bridge at night. I think Belle Isle is closed now. I'm not sure. I ain't been to Belle Isle in a long time. But you want to put them to where people can't easily find the dead bodies. To be like, well, I put them in the car, drove out on the freeway, as far as I thought I could go, and then carried their bodies. So you don't even know where they are. So if we needed to go find the bodies to put them somewhere else, you can't even tell me where they are. You motherfucker. That's what I would have said. Did anybody ever tell you ain't shit? But yeah. So I can be getting all off topic sometimes. So, all while they are talking and everything, there are scenes of Teddy and Alejandro like following the girl who put up the wanted posters to get a picture of her, to find out who she is, kind of. They do find out she's like a grad student. She moves there to look for the friend, sister, cousin, or whoever the girl is. There's also a scene of Teddy going into the house when the girl isn't there. And he's, he broke in and everything. Teddy is a little bit of a criminal. And he is taking pictures and he's looking at the dining room table. And there's all these, like, missing person pictures. And I think the 3 that I saw were the girls who were at the party with them initially. And there's also a list of names. And some names are crossed off. Like, maybe 8 names are crossed off, but 3 names are circled, and then there are other names where they're just still listed. So, Teddy sees this, and so he sees that some names are crossed out, and then there's 3 circled. The next thing we see with them is he's like, we have to get her to not talk. We have to see what she knows. We just have to kind of get to her, basically, and just make her not want to say anything. So the last thing that we see of the Teddy Alejandro story, the girl is at the police station and she's sitting there, and Teddy walks in with his shades on. I think Teddy's cute with his shades on. I think he's like a little, a white, hairy Ken doll. I don't know. Anywho, so yeah, Teddy walks in and the police woman is like on the phone, so he's just kind of standing there. He's like, excuse me. And she's like, one second, because she's on the phone talking with someone else. He's like, my friend is missing. I'm here to file a missing police report. I can't find my friend. My friend's name says a random person's name. And this is crazy. Why can't you guys help me? She's missing. We need to find her. So the girl who was looking for the girl who was posting the missing person poster, she's like, excuse me, sir. I don't mean to, I overheard you. Is your friend's name? Said the name. And he was like, yeah, do you know her? She's missing. I need to find her. Man, he was acting like he's a person looking for someone missing too, knowing that she would be interested if she heard him say one of the names off her list. And she's like, well, yeah, we can't talk. Let's talk somewhere else. And then they leave together. So that's how that thing ends. For me, it's getting a little bit more interesting with them. I'm saying? It's like, what are they going to try to do with this girl? What does she actually know? Why does she have all these names? It's a lot to figure out. So I'm hoping that makes their story more interesting. Because I was getting tired of the whole jungle thing. I'm a soldier. The whole baby mama situation. Fucking on the goddamn kitchen table. Ass all on the table. Burning the grits or whatever like that. I was getting tired of that. So, hopefully this picks up their story and their story gets just as interesting as who? Franklin. So, on to the main event. So, we remember in the beginning when I said, Franklin had called Kevin about going to Oakland. So, the next thing we see is Kevin, Franklin, Leon all getting into the car and driving down to Oakland because they've, I'm not from California, I'm not sure, but I guess Oakland is like a far drive. I guess it's the equivalent of, here in Michigan, if you drive to Lansing, it's like an hour or 2 away. So, we do see once they get to Oakland and they pull up, they're it was like a biker bar, but like an outside, like if somebody got a house and they got a big old backyard or a big old side yard that they just have parties and stuff that they put up a whole fence and everybody hang out. So like all the bikers are outside. Well, their bikes are outside. And he's like, who's your cousin? Where's your cousin? I'm like, man, we gotta go in. We'll be okay. He's my cousin. We good. So, they go in. They like, who is this cousin? Is he a cousin on your mama's side or your daddy's side? Oh, on my mama's side, but I haven't hung around him much. So you got us coming to Oakland to sell some goddamn drugs to a cousin who you barely know? Really, Leon? Not Leon. Really, Kevin? Really, Kevin? This stupid shit. So, once they're inside, they're walking around trying to find his cousin. And, it's just a whole bunch of people in there kind of partying, they're smoking, they're doing whatever. He finally does find his cousin, and they're like, okay, where's the person who's going to be buying these drugs? And cousin is like, well, he ain't here yet. Y'all got to sit down and chill. Franklin with the bullshit. He remembered the last time he tried to sell some drugs, and he got jumped and almost murdered, and it was a whole thing, and Carvel raped somebody, and they had to kill Carvel. It was a whole situation. So I feel like Franklin is at least learning from his past, knowing when not to just sit around and bullshit, to come get your job done and leave. And his, Kevin's cousin's like, oh, so you projecting my hospitality? He like, look, I came to do business and bounce. That's all I want to do. So, that's all I'm trying to do. And, they're like, hey, sit down, chill out. He ain't going to be here. I don't know when he's going to be here, but, you just have to wait. So we see, Kevin and Leon like, yeah, man, we can just chill. We can chill out. This my cousin's spot. We good. So, I mean, like, Leon disappears. I think he's somewhere looking for some Gucci. And we see Kevin see a girl who is clearly on some kind of drugs. So he gets some drugs from Franklin to entice the girl because he wants some goddamn cocaine coochie. Don't try no damn cocaine coochie. But Franklin's like, he just trying to get business done. He trying to leave. So he's basically by himself. He's walking around, just checking out the scene, holding his backpack tight, and just not trying to get involved in all the bullshit. The scene was weird because they in this weird biker bar, backyard barbecue type place. I mean, for me, it looked like it was a person's, it was like a person who's at a big house, and it wasn't like a real biker bar. This like outside of a house, like even like a parking lot or just something. I don't know. It was just weird shit. So he was like kind of walking around. At one point, he goes into a room, and there's a white guy getting a tattoo, and the white guy is all high, and the person doing the tattoo looks fucking shitty. But Franklin's still walking around. At one point, a girl walk up like, what's in that backpack? And he just like, nothing. I'm just, trying to do some things. He walk away. And then, he goes into the back, and it's a tent with like a light. So you can see, the silhouette of people. And some freaky shit was going on in that tent. I couldn't tell if it was a person getting fucked in the ass. I couldn't tell if it was a person who was getting head. I couldn't tell if it was a guy who was titty fucking a girl. I couldn't tell what was going on. But Franklin walked up, and he looking like, what the fuck's going on in there? So as Franklin walk up thinking like, what the fuck going on in there? We see Kevin walk up like, what the fuck going on in there? And then the guy getting a tattoo, and I think the guy who was giving him the tattoo, walk up. And Franklin like, look, man, was so-and-so here yet? And they like, I'm just going to call so-and-so JoJo. No, I'm going to call him JoJo. So, is JoJo here yet? Y'all looking for JoJo? Y'all got some coke? And he like, look, man, I'm just trying to, do some business. Kevin's cousin then come up like, look, this don't even concern you. Yes, it do. If he got coke, why he holding out? Kevin's cousin like, watch your voice when you talking to me. I'm like, if y'all at the biker bar and y'all all doing drugs, it was just so much going on. And then at that very moment, a naked man ran out of the tent, and I kept rewinding it back and over and over. I heard him say something like, she tried to kiss me, something about some pussy lips. Was the woman a man? Like, did the woman have a dick? And he was so high he didn't realize it. And then when the woman tried to kiss him, he realized that she didn't have a coochie. I couldn't understand what was going on. And I promise y'all, I rewinded the thing a good 8 times. I tried to put on my goddamn my closed captioning to see what was said, and I couldn't get it figured out. I still don't know what exactly the man said. But he ran out naked and was saying, something. And the girl said, but it's still my pussy. And I'm like, well, but if you got a dick, it ain't a pussy. I was confused over that whole scene, but I can just imagine when you at a party and everybody getting high, and you so high that like some weird group sex orgy thing goes on, and the next thing you know, maybe a dick is in your face. I'm not sure what was going on, but it was funny nonetheless. And just some weird sex shit. So, next, after that whole thing, we see Franklin has left the party. Because when you see a naked man run out, or a naked white man for that matter, who runs out, you know what I'm saying? It's time to go. So, Franklin's walking down the street. And for me, it's weird because I'm like, you walking down the street in LA, but you ain't from LA. Like, you don't live in LA. So how do you even know where you going? And why you walking around with cocaine in your backpack? Franklin, you gotta be smarter than that, bruh. So He's walking down the street and he walks up to a building and he has a memory. The memory is of his mom bringing him to this building as a kid. We see that it used to be a Black Panther headquarters. So, it shows him walking in, him remembering the things that were there. They show how it used to be all these Black Panthers, powerful people. They're busy making lunches, making flyers and all these different things. And they show his father turning around back when his father was sober and healthy and a Black Panther person. I can't think of the word right now. When he was back when his father was a Black Panther. And he's like, my son. He puts his son up. He had Franklin like he was less than 5 years old. Maybe he was 6, give or take. He wasn't older than 6. He was a kid. He puts Franklin up on like a chair on like a table. He like, stand up straight, hold your head up, shoulders back. Always be respectful. Always be respected. Always make sure people will respect you. Basically, kind of teaching him how to be proud. Don't walk around, slunched over like, you know what I'm saying, had some background about you, bruh. So it was a moment of him putting his son up on a pedestal. He was like, my son. And it's a long way from how we saw his father who was, drunk, alcoholic, in jail, wino, hobo, thing. It was seeing his father in a different light. And for a moment seeing why it's probably hard for him to see his father, how his father is now, because of who his father was before. So, as he's in the haze in this room, and again, I'm like, you in this empty ass building at night, is somebody gonna beat your ass again? Like, if you gonna get fucked up again, you can't get fucked up, that many times in one dang on season. It's only season 1, and I'm happy it did get renewed for season 2. So as he's, reminiscing, a random white girl pops up. Now, first of all, when I see a random white girl, I think of The Ring. Because she just standing there with long hair. And I'm looking like, is this a Ring person? Is she finna touch him? He gonna die? Like, what's going on? What's going on in these parts? And she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I'm just, this used to be a Black Panther headquarters. And he talking to her like she's normal. And she seems a little off to me. I can tell there's something wrong. And I'm like, look, Franklin, bruh, listen to your girl. Something wrong with that girl. Just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to kiss her. Just leave her alone. So they're talking, and he's like, is anybody else here? What are you doing here? And she kind of scurries off to the back, and his ass follow her. Now, why are you following this random killer white girl in the empty building at night? Don't you wonder why a white girl would be in the building by herself at night? I mean, Franklin, do you have any street knowledge? No? Okay. So he follows her to the back, and she's like, this is my friend. This is my friend. This is my friend. And we see she has a homemade crack pipe. And what is she doing? She's back there smoking crack. First introduction of the crack, and that's what the show is supposed to be about. He's like, what's that? I've never seen that before. She smokes it, and she's high. You look like a star. I'm gonna call you Star. And she's high as a kite. And he like, where you get that from? Can we get some more? I'll buy some. Take me to where you got it from. I'll pay for it. So, okay, sunshine. Okay, star. Okay, sunlight. Whatever she was calling him. And she's all rainbows and lollipops and unicorns. And she just took her shoes off when she walking around barefoot. And he like, why you walking barefoot? You gonna mess up your pretty feet. How do you know my feet are pretty? Well, of course you have pretty feet. I don't know if it's because he's saying she got pretty feet because she white. I'm not sure. I don't know. So him and the high girl go to a park to buy crack cocaine. Now, I'm still saying to myself, Franklin, why are you following this random high-ass white girl at night to go buy a drug that you don't know about? I mean, didn't you learn any goddamn thing from the Mexicans beating your ass? Did you learn anything from the people robbing you? Didn't you learn anything from Carvel ass raping that boy? You gotta watch what you get yourself into. So, they walk up, and buy a crack, for $20. And who happens to be the goddamn crack dealer? is none other than Sam from Underground. I don't know if any of y'all have watched the show Underground. Well, when it was canceled after one season, even though it was a great show. It was a show called Underground about, basically the Underground Railroad. Character who was playing the crack dealer in this show, he played a character on that show, Underground. He was Sam. He was a slave who was murdered. But I'm like, hey Sam, I'm glad that when you got murdered on Underground, you got a new job here. Congratulations. So Franklin like, so y'all selling coke? And he like, nah, yeah, but it's rocked up. It's because it's crack cocaine. And he pulls out a wallet of money like, I'll buy it from you. I'll buy whatever you got if you can take me to or show me how to make it. And they like, what? What are you talking about? So, he then tosses them his book bag, and the guy Sam opens it, and of course he shows him the 2 keys. And he like, man, are you serious? And he like, I'm absolutely serious. So he like, all right, you want to meet the wizard? And he like, hell yeah. He like, all right, come on, Dorothy. So, the crack dealer and Franklin skip off to go see the Wizard of Oz down the goddamn Yellow Brick Road. And I'm like, but again, Franklin, you still following strangers, bruh. I just need Franklin to learn a lesson sometime. You can't just keep following strangers in the middle of the night. I mean, he literally left the party, did not tell Leon or Kevin where he was going. He then was walking down a random street at night with 2 kilos of cocaine in his backpack. Went to an empty old building at night. Went in this empty old building, met a random white girl who was in the back smoking crack cocaine, followed her through an alley to a park, bought her crack cocaine, sent her on her way, then is going with the crack dealer to meet the crack maker. And the killing part about it is he don't even know that it's crack. He just know it's something. I'm like, okay, Franklin. So the next thing we see, the crack dealer takes him to the person who he basically works for. And we see that this person is actually RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. I love RZA. I think he's a great actor. He's a producer. He's a director. He's just a jack of all trades. I love that he has a role on this show. But his character is called Swim. And why is his character called Swim? Because as he said, because I'm either swimming in some pussy or swimming in some money. Well, okay, good for you, bruh. So, Franklin like, look, I just want to know how you make the stuff. And, that's all I'm really here for. He's like, I might be crazy. I might, this might be a crazy idea. I might be dumb for coming here. But I got a feeling, and I'm going to take this shot. I want to see what y'all doing. I want to be a part of it. And I'm like, you have to congratulate him for wanting to be a part of something and kind of following his gut. But, you have to still be smart out. And sometimes I just feel like Franklin not that smart. But sometimes I feel like he is a fucking genius. It goes both ways. He has good and bad. So he then goes and he's like, are you the one cooking it up? He like, maybe. He like, well, look, I feel like if you cooking it up, you're an artist. All artists want their work to be experienced by the world. So, I'll take it to LA and I can share your gift with everyone. And, RZA Swim takes him up some stairs and they go to the kitchen to do what? To cook some goddamn crack cocaine. So I'm not gonna go into the whole details of how he showed him how to make crack. I've seen other shows, movies, and stuff, and people showing and talking about how people make crack. I'm pretty sure everybody is at least aware of how people make crack. You might not know the ingredients and know how much of it to put in, but they show them putting the cocaine in like a little beaker, you stir it up, you heat it up a little bit, they showed all of that. And the one part I did remember him saying was, at one point they were trying to free the base from the cocaine, from the coke. And I was like, freebase? That's what they used to call it back in the day. They're like, oh yeah, people freebasing. So I'm like, I like how they kind of fit that in. And he just explained how it became crack. And Franklin's, watching them as it's being made, asking different questions about, well, if while I'm cooking it, if I'm around these fumes, will I get high? And they was like, well, no, you'll get a contact just because you're in the room with it, but it won't get you high. He like, do you want to try it? And Franklin like, nah, I don't do what I sell. He like, you really should, you should try it, it'll open up some dark, dark places. So you gonna try and tell me to smoke crack so they can open up in dark, dark spaces? I don't want to be dark. I don't want to be a crackhead. And if I won't do, cocaine, I definitely ain't doing crack. You know what I'm saying? I've never understood why people did crack. Once you figured out how bad crack made people, like, what makes you try crack? I could never in my life say that I would ever say, you know what? I think I can try crack and I can not get addicted. No, if you have a right mind, don't do crack. Crack is whack, as Whitney Houston once said. So he sees the whole process of how they made it. He makes a joke how you can't use ether to cook it because ether does its own thing, and he shows the chef guy, the cook guy, and his hand is all burned up because ether is crazy. So he showed him the crack rock. He like so this is the finished product. You can sell each of these little crack rocks for $50, and it wasn't a little crack rock. Like, it wasn't I guess crack might, I don't know if it cost $5 or $10. It was like a little thing. It was like like a quarter size amount. And he was like, you can sell this for $50 a pop. And he was like, really? He like, yeah. And he like, well, okay. Can we cook some more? And he like, well, how much? And he was like, all of it. Because of course there were 2 kilos of cocaine that he now was going to make into crack cocaine and take it back to LA to sell it. So, the last scene of it is we see Franklin going back. It's the following day. It's daylight. And he's going back to the biker bar to look for Kevin and Leon. Because, of course, he left them there. Now, my thing is, if my friend disappeared, I'm leaving your ass. I ain't staying here waiting for you. You should have never left. You can get your own ride home. But when he get back there, we see that Leon and Kevin are asleep in the car outside of the biker bar. And he, of course, knocked on the window to scare them a little bit. And they like, man, where you been all night? You left. You got us put out the party because you left. And, JoJo, I call JoJo the person who was there to buy the buy the cocaine. JoJo came and you wasn't there, so the whole deal was ruined. They was pissed off because they didn't have, cocaine. And he like, well, all right, well, let's go back home. He like, man, what was you doing all night that you ruined the deal? Where have you been? When you tell us that, then we can go to 7-Eleven. And then Franklin in the back seat, and he pulls up a Ziploc bag, and it's full of huge rocks of cocaine that they're going to have to, of course, cut up into little things to sell them bag by bag. And they like, man, what's that? And he was like, our future. And they rode off to go back to LA. And I'm like, okay. Introduce crack cocaine. Hence why this episode was called Cracking. Because they finally made crack cocaine. So, that was the whole episode. So that was my review. Great episode. Of course, I still think Franklin's story is the strongest. But I can say I'm not as bored with the other stories now. Today it wasn't as bad. It's just their stories don't be the whole episode. Their stories take up maybe 5 minutes, worth of story. So, it's hard to really get invested in them. But, this is my review. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you also subscribe if you have not subscribed already. And until next time, people, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. And until then, peace.